Welcome to Muslim Apologetics Australia. I posted a link and you can see the link below this video. I'll post it again. It's called Sharia Law versus Secular Liberalism. Please look at the list and compare what is more beneficial for humanity, Sharia law or secular liberalism. You can see the differences I've outlined, a statistical analysis between the two. Of course, a secular liberal supporter writes to me and says, secular liberalism is better than Sharia law. That's why so many Muslims want to move to the West. Okay, so this is their number one argument. Their number one argument is one of the reasons why secular liberalism is better than Sharia law is because Muslims want to move to the West. However, this could be refuted in numerous ways. For example, some brothers in the comment have suggested, for example, Mexico runs on a secular democracy. Why do they also want to move to the West? And of course, the liberal apologists would say things like, well, there are drug cartels, or there may be poverty, there may be other circumstances, and it's not really secularism or liberalism to be blamed for why they're moving to the West. But now let's use that same argument. Maybe it's not really about Sharia that these Muslims have a problem with. It's because of other economic reasons, such as there may be people in power who are not using the money to really fund and look after the people, and that's why people are moving away. There could be other reasons, such as the decades of war that has been imposed by foreign powers into those Muslim countries. We know that most of these Muslim countries where people are running out from and coming to the West are places that have been bombed by the West. You know, for example, how Russia is bombing Syria, how many of these people are migrating to Europe for a better life because they've got not much left there. When you look at Afghanistan has been through 20-odd years of war, bloodshed. And that's why people are jumping on those planes to run out of there because, again, what they want is economy, something that can give them food in their tummies. You know, of course, if the Taliban start implementing Sharia, it's going to take decades and decades and decades of years trying to fix that country and bring it back to some normality. But some people are like, I can't wait for that now. I need to go. My family, I need to save my family. So again, we can use the same arguments you're making to justify Mexicans leaving Mexico due to other economical reasons. And then he made another blunder. He said one of the reasons why people are moving to the West is because Sia writes, secular liberalism helps with protecting individual rights, not defeating crime. So here is the point here. If secularism helps with protecting individual rights, why couldn't it help protect the individual rights of Mexicans? Right? Why couldn't it do that? Why couldn't it beat crime? Why couldn't it give this sort of enlightenment where these people turn to crime? Right? So, can one blame secular liberalism? I'm pretty sure if Sharia was running that country, you'd blame Sharia law. You'd say Sharia law doesn't help protect the individual rights of human beings, and that's why there's crime, and that's why Mexicans are running out of Mexico to run to America. And Brother Daniel made a very good point because this is Brother Daniel Hakikato in his debate, because Sia says, for example, why do people want to move to USA, UK, Canada, New Zealand? Of course, because, again, they're after money. It's economic reasons. It's not because of secular liberalism, right? If there are Muslims who also run to Dubai. There are many, many Indian workers who go to Dubai. Is that because, it's a majority Muslim country that has aspects of Sharia and things like that? No. It's because of pure economic reasons. They don't want to live in a third world country like India. They want to go to a more stable economic country like Saudi Arabia, and they want to work in Dubai for, again, economic reasons. Should we blame this on their Hindu gods, on the religion of Hinduism? No, no one would do that. This is purely or should we base it on their secular liberal democracy, which India has? So are they running from that? One would argue no, they're running to Dubai because of, again, economic reasons. And Brother Daniel said Botswana has the biggest human rights, the foremost liberalism, the foremost women's rights, the foremost feminist rights. But these Muslims aren't running there. They're not going to Botswana, right? But instead, they're going to the UK or they're going to America because, again, they want to have the highest achievement of places. That's where they want to actually go for, again, purely economic reasons. This isn't because, they want liberalism and secular liberalism, and because they want, to follow that ideology where, for example, they believe in homosexuality, where liberalism believes in homosexuality, where it believes in a separation between religion and state and things like that. No. Like, for example, my parents have come from Turkey. They believed in their system, in their country, in Turkey. They believed in the democratic laws. After Atatürk, secularism and liberalism was established. But many Turks left Turkey. They went to Germany. In fact, probably 70% of them went to Germany. Probably 20% of them went to America. 10% of them, probably 5% of them went to UK, and probably another 5% of them came to Australia. Again, I'm just making up these numbers. I'm not saying they're exactly right, but you get the point. And when my parents came here, they didn't say, okay, I believe in the secular democracy, because Turkey had secular democracy. They came here because they said, I want an opportunity, an economic opportunity. One that Turkey at the time didn't sufficiently provide. And here is the thing. Turkey now has become an economic power. It probably has much more things than Australia has. But these people aren't choosing to go back. Why is that? Because they're both an economic power. They've both got democracy. They've both got liberalism. A lot of them aren't going back. But then there are some who go back. And the other argument they use is, secular liberalism gives people technology. That's why it's better than Sharia law. That's why people are coming to the West from Muslim nations, because they're benefiting from the technological advances, something that secular liberalism can give, but Sharia cannot. This argument can be clearly refuted. You know why? Because of the fundamental principle, nowhere, and I challenge any skeptic of Islam, any person who hates Islam, or any person who despises Islam, bring me, and they can never do this, bring me a single hadith, bring me a single verse in the Quran that it says you are forbidden to technologically advance. You are forbidden to educate. You are forbidden to go to school. You are forbidden to create technology. Anywhere, a single verse. Because if Sharia law is not endorsing it, then how do you blame Sharia if Muslims are behind in technology? Right? How do you blame that? Right? So it's an incoherent argument to say, Sharia law countries are behind in technology, therefore Sharia law is bad. You can't make that correlation. it becomes completely irrelevant when you're saying Muslims are behind because of Sharia law, when the very fundamental teachings of Sharia, nowhere does it suggest to not attain education. So if Muslims have fallen behind in education and technology, what has that got to do with Sharia law? Despite the fact that there is many inventions that were created by Muslims, starting from the numeracy and so forth and many other things, again, there were many theologians, there were many scientists in Islam. So even the Renaissance, even in Spain, for example, the Golden Ages, the books were filled. They had Muslim universities and libraries, okay, which the Westerners at one time actually benefited from and carried that on, carried the Enlightenment on. But now that, you've created a spaceship, you can go to the moon, you can do all these advancements, suddenly you want to slap religion in the face. You want to slap, when in actual fact that a lot of the religious people who happen to be from the West, they're actually Christian as well. They're Christian conservative people, right, who believe in the Bible. Religious people have contributed to Western enlightenment, Western advancements. So for them to say, oh, it's just all about secularism, it's all about liberalism, it's all about democracy. That ideology, secularism, liberalism, and democracy, doesn't help anyone to advance in their mental wiseness to come up with intelligent design and create things. Every individual has a capability. Put liberalism, secularism, democracy to the side. Put Sharia law to the side. Put Buddhism to the side. Put Hinduism to the side. Every person has got the capability to strengthen their own mental development and create things and advance. Religion and liberalism and democracy and all that sort of stuff play very little part in this. It's every individual who could develop themselves through schooling and through education. Now, one may say, well, how come Muslims are behind? Because, see, the thing is, Muslims aren't really behind when you look at it. And I'll tell you why. So Muslims concentrate half their efforts on the dunya and half their efforts in akhirah, right? In the afterlife, right? So although Muslims are contributing, they're not just contributing in this earth. So the kafir, the secular liberalist, he's putting all of his contribution into this world. Day and night, all he's doing is studying about the world, going to university, coming back, going to school, education. Religion plays no part in his life. So you see that as a success and you say, that's giving us success here. But the problem is you have no success in the afterlife. Because although the Muslim seems to be behind in this world, where he's contributing far less when it comes to technology in this world, but he's also contributing to the afterlife, which you're not contributing to, because you don't believe in that. So the true success isn't just measured on this earth. True success is measured both here and in the hereafter, which you don't have. So I can argue from a Sharia perspective gives true success and not your success, because your success is only for this world, while the Muslim success is both in this world and in the next life. Also consider that the Christians or the Westerners or the seculars, the revolutionists, they had over 500 years advantage over the Muslims. They came 500 or 600 years, many thousands of years even before Muslims, right? Of course we believe that Ibrahim and Isa alayhi salam and Musa alayhi salam, they were Muslim, but I'm talking about the advent of Islam, right? Sharia law, things like this. Also consider this, that the West didn't purely build all this sophistication on their own. They used the slave trade to build their country and give them a privilege to go to university and study and do all those things. Because at time, they had nothing. They migrated. They stole lands, other lands. They conquered this land and conquered that land and benefited from their natural resources. They literally took over the whole globe, right? So it makes sense why they've become advanced. It's not just because of their own intuition or they're just intelligent or they're just greater than every other man. No, they took advantage of foreign lands. You know, they like to say, oh, Muslims are migrating to other lands to benefit from those lands. Well, that's what the West did. The West migrated. They left the stench of England, the Dark Ages. They left that. They migrated and they didn't just go there. They took over those lands by force. And they took their natural resources and they built their economy on that type of privilege. But you want to turn around and say, oh, it was, just the intellect of the white man. No, they were privileged to have those lands. They were privileged to reap from those lands, all the natural resources. They killed over 90 million Indians. They're not Indians, actually. They're Native Americans. Christopher Columbus called them Indians because he was trying to look for India and he ran into America, and out of his arrogance, he still called them Indians. And they took over those lands and they built their country and they took slaves from Africa and they built their economy quickly, revolutionized. Both in Australia, they did the same thing here, the stolen generation. And they built their empire. And you know what some Westerners say? They say, oh, that was a great thing because we grew those countries. Yes, you grew those countries on a funding that was taken from other people, and you grew that funding into something else. I mean, look at the privilege. Imagine the Muslims did that. They literally conquered every nation. The Americas, Africa, India, diamonds. There's a documentary saying that the UK, the Queen, they took over $45 trillion, or billion dollars, $45 billion worth of diamonds out of India back into England. There's a documentary on it. I'll put a hyperlink below this video. And of course, if you've got that sort of money, you're going to put that money towards technology. You're going to put that money towards advancements because you got privileges now, right? But you want to say, oh, it's just about secular liberalism. You've been lucky. You've had the privilege to reap the natural resources of other countries. If Sharia did the same thing, you'd call that terrorism, right? You'd say terrorism has banded the whole world. It's ruthlessly taking over every country and stealing all its natural resources. Now, what is even interesting, the white man works like a dog. Well, it made black people work like a dog for it. But suppose the white man built the country on these foreign privileges that it took from these other countries. You look at the Saudis. The Saudis aren't doing anything, but Allah is gifting them with oil. The Japanese work like a dog, don't they? The Japanese work like an absolute dog to get to where they are. The Chinese work like dogs to get to where they are, right? But the Arabs, it's just given to them. Saudi Arabia, they just got all the oil, right? Which, by the way, the West is constantly invading and trying to take from there. Like Donald Trump said, he wants the oil from the northern Syria. He said it. He said, this is mine. So he's there for the oil. And he disputed with Bush and said, I wish I could be in Iraq to take the oil there too. That's one thing that the Bush administration did wrong. They should have also taken all the oil, right? But Sharia law, maybe because the Saudis had Sharia law, Allah blessed them with oil, right? So what are you trying to weigh? You're trying to say liberalism, secularism is better than Sharia when you're working like a dog to get to where you are, and on the other hand, Allah blesses all this wealth to the Arabs, right? Of course, out of your arrogance, you'll say, oh, that was just a coincidence. That was just an accident. Yes, it happened to be an accident that they're part of that geographic region, which you call an accident, which is interesting. Also, one other point you need to consider is the colonialists divided the Muslim nations, drew borders between them, separated into different flags. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not impose that. Sharia law did not impose that. We're one nation, one flag. So if you collectively put all the GTB together, then they're actually not very poor. They're not actually, they can actually do something really, really good. In fact, the top 4 richest countries in the world with the highest GDP happen to actually be Muslim countries. So, if you want to talk about wealth and economics, let's look at their advancements. They're actually living pretty good. Is that a blessing of Sharia law? Of course, you won't say that's Sharia law, right? You'd say, oh, that's just, coincidence. That's just the oil. Well, who put the oil there? God did. Well, one could say he's blessing them through Sharia law. Of course, you'll try and come up with all these other reasons. No, God didn't do it. It was a natural formation of the earth that creates oil and all this blah, 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 blah. So you can give all of these excuses to say these were natural phenomena. But we say that even those natural phenomena were formed by God. So you have no excuse to say it wasn't God blessing these people. And of course, they can't answer this question. If secularism, liberalism gives benefits for human beings, unlike Sharia law, why is it that they claim they're growing economically, and yet America has a $12 trillion debt, $13 trillion debt? Surely technology can pay that debt off. So they'll post pictures like this, right? As Daniel says, where is the picture showing Western mainstream of pornography, heroin, fornication, sodomy, abortion, single motherhood, sex change surgery, antidepressants, drug queen story hour, single unit living pods, bug-based fox meat, wonders of the modern West? What humanity needs to realize is that science and technology are not a blank check. Yes, they have some positives, but have also destroyed human life and civilization. We have yet to see the full consequence of the Industrial Revolution, but the result is not going to be good. It is looking like the result will be the end of human species. Allah Alam. And I'll put a hyperlink by Daniel, who writes about this in The Genies of Islam, episode 1 and 2, the destruction of mankind through technological advancements. Have a look. Secular liberalism could not take people away from antidepressants. Korea, Chile, Estonia, Hungary, Slovakia, Italy, Netherlands, Czech, France, Germany, Slovakia, Luxembourg, Norway, Spain, Belgium, Finland, United Kingdom, Portugal, Sweden, Denmark, Canada, Australia, Iceland, United States. You'd think that the more they're advancing in technology, the more happy they're getting. No, it's the opposite. Because like I said, the more they've concentrated on materialism, the less they've concentrated on God, and now they're becoming anti-depressant. Dependent, of course.